Hi guys! Welcome back. I'm Ashu. I'm archiving all of my thoughts, life, whatever. This is Ashu's Archives basically. I'm just trying to make sense of my name brand that I've created. But today I'm going to be talking about Black Widow. I'm sure I'm going to be editing this like 3 weeks, 4 weeks later than I filmed it. But I watched it the day of the release and I have opinions.
This thing that you do when you whip your hair when you're fighting.
My opinions are going to be divided into three parts. One is a spoiler free review for those who haven't watched it and want to know whether you should not watch it based on my opinion as an unprofessional film critique. The second one is I'm gonna be giving a summary with the people who haven't watched it and just want to know what the movie is about. The third part is my unfiltered opinions. I'm gonna be discussing what I felt about the movie and let's see if our brain cells match or not. I found the movie nice-ish. Now you might be thinking, Ashu, what the fuck? What is nice-ish? So here's the thing. I really loved the beginning and all of that. Like towards the end, it starts becoming like a very typical Marvel movie where like you know how the fight's gonna go, everything like that. So if you don't want to watch a movie like that, I suggest you don't. But I think the first half kind of makes up for it a bit because I love the kind of family dynamics that they have, the kind of themes that they want to get into. Those stuff are really nice. This movie would have been great if it was like literally released after Civil War was released because that is when it's set. But it isn't. So that kind of takes away from the movie a bit because there are no consequences. There's nice-ish fight scenes, but the third act is just whatever. Overall, I think the themes that they try to get into are really nice, but they don't really get into it. So now, if you just want to watch it as, oh wow, Marvel movie, let's watch it, cool. I want to watch more of Black Widow, cool. But if you're expecting more from it than just that, like a bit more of depth like they've shown in their recent series, I don't think you're gonna get it. This movie starts off with a family of four where basically the mother's taking care of their children, whatever, and then the dad comes in and is like, we have to leave. And they leave everything behind and they're running and the cops are after them, they're shooting, and this child is literally taking. There are two girls. Out of the two girls, the elder one is kind of aware of what's happening, is kind of the feel that you can get, and you find out that the elder one is Natasha and the younger one is called Yelena. Their dad is called Alexei and the mom's name is Milena, which is really confusing with Yelena, so I'm just gonna call her mom. But I'm sorry if my pronunciations are wrong of their names. Sorry. But basically, it feels like the elder one kind of knows what's happening. They run away on a helicopter and they reach Cuba. And you find out that they are spies, Russian spies, during the Cold War. And the mom was really hurt, tells Natasha that don't lose your heart. You find out that there's this place called the Red House where they're basically taking a lot of orphans and girls and they're training them to become spies for the Cold War. 21 years later, Civil War, Natasha is kind of like talking to someone, being like, listen, you can't catch me. I know you want to catch me. You can't catch me. She obviously runs away and she goes to this place in Morocco where there's this guy. It seems like they're kind of flirting, but I think they're friends because, I don't know. Friends can flirt with each other. Or I can misinterpret signals because I don't have any action in my life and I don't know how to flirt. Point being, she's in Norway and she's escaped. But then, like, in this side, you see her sister Yelena trying to murder someone. And while that's happening, some red gas leaks into her and she's released out of the mind control of the Red Room. and realizes actually murdered the person who's freed her and now feels like it's her responsibility to free other women, which seems about right. With Nat, like the power is gone in her bunker or whatever, so she's going to get some fuel and noticed that she was listening to Cheap Thrills by Sia, but I don't know why I find that so important. I just want to be like, I just want to be like, I don't need dollar bills to have fun tonight. I love cheap thrills. Anyway, not the point. She has done a lot of shady shit. She gets attacked by a robot. A robot that's after something that Nat has, which I don't think even Nat knew that she had. But basically, they have this fight, and the robot says that I am basically mimicking your moves, so it's kind of like you're fighting yourself. It's a lost battle. There's a battle, and Nat basically takes the stuff that the robot wants, uses the briefcase, and jumps into the river. So the robot thinks that they have it, right? And Nat has enough time to escape, or the robot can think that it died. Nat died, but the robot realizes that it has a blank briefcase anyway, and it's like, I guess I'll go back, not into the river because it's a robot and it'll get wet and then it'll die. Oh, I was just thinking, why didn't the robot jump? And then anyway, during the fight, I noticed one thing: the robot is using a shield, and I'm like, why are you doing this? Why is everyone using a shield now? And it looks like Captain America's shield, kind of, because it feels like it's not obeying the laws of physics. And later on, also in like a fight, there are people using arrows. And why do I feel like weapons belong to only one person? That's not true. Wow, my towel is hanging. What am I doing? So basically, in the red tubes that she got are the things that like help free the widows, and she notices a picture of her and her younger sister that she gave to her younger sister. So she realizes that this is a message from Yelena, and she goes to Budapest to meet Yelena. If you're hardcore Marvel fans, you know we've all been dying to know what happened in Budapest with Black Widow and Hawkeye, but so we may find out. We do actually. They took down the Red Room and in the process killed General Dreykov, which is the guy who runs the Red Room's daughter. They also hid in pipes. What are they called? These huge ass pipes. Ventilators? I don't know. They hid for a really long time in order to be able to escape from Budapest as well, and that's how she got into Shield anyway. These two sisters meet and they're fighting because they don't trust each other, but they kind of do anyway. But you get like a really nice fight scene, so I'm up for that. They do hot. I love it. But like another agent comes from the Red Room to try and kill them, but then as she's defeated and Natasha's about to free her from the mind control, I guess, she kills herself because Dreykov gives her the order to, and it's kind of sad. But okay, moving on from that. Yeah, the robot runs after them in a tank, and they have like a car chase thing. Yelena really helps. It's really nice. Like this sister dynamic is really cool. The scenes in that are really cool. I can't explain it by just talking about it.
Okay, you got a plan, or shall I just stay duck and cover?
My plan was to drive us away.
Well, your plan sucks.
All right, enough. All of you.
I didn't say anything. That's not fair.
But yeah, later on, like once they've like ditched the robot successfully, they're sitting and having drinks, and Yelena's like, you left me, and Natasha's like, I thought you went to do your own thing. I thought I destroyed the Red Room, but apparently not. It's still functioning. So Yelena's like, you're all a superhero now and stuff like that, and you kind of realize that Yelena is kind of jealous that she didn't have Natasha in her life, and that Natasha had a separate life altogether, that Yelena really wanted Natasha around and is upset that she wasn't. And they also talk about how like Natasha and Yelena both are like really morally grey characters. They're assassins, right? And Natasha has turned out to be a hero for a lot of girls. The fact that when she wasn't under mind control, she killed an innocent girl, which is General Dreykov's daughter, haunts her. Yelena knows about that. They get talking and they decide that they want to free all of the widows. And for that, they need their dad because they need the location of where the widows are. And their dad Alexei is in jail, and I love the intro to him because you get his character on a silver platter, and it's show not tell, which is really great. He was the Red Guardian, kind of supposed to be the Captain America of Russia, but then it got taken away from him before anything could happen, and he's lying about like him facing off with Captain America, things like that, and you just know that he's the kind of person who was told that he's gonna live a glorious life and it was taken away from him, and he's kind of stuck in that fantasy. Kat and Yelena have a helicopter and from that guy who got at the bunker, but they have a helicopter and they have their dad escape, and in the process, the entire jail goes under the snow because they cause a snowpocalypse, stuff like that. These people realize that Alexei does not know where the widows are. He's been in jail forever, and General Dreykov only sent him to jail so that he couldn't like overpower General Dreykov, I'm guessing, like a power battle. But he says that the mom, the mom knows where it is because the mom actually created the chips to do the mind control. All of these girls saw a very caring mom in their fake family, and they find out that their mom is the reason why they've gone through a lot of this, like part of the reason why. That moment. They go to St. Petersburg, and the dad keeps on talking about how proud he is of his girls to like, because they killed so much and all of that, that they did what they were supposed to. And you realize how, I mean, you knew how dysfunctional it is, their family, but you realize how extremely dysfunctional it is. Because their dad still expects them to be assassins. He's been in jail for so long, he has not realized how the world changed, but also like some sort of thing for living human beings. And like hearing that also might make the girls feel some sort of way because like, dude, we really don't want to, you forced us into it, and like, yeah, really. But Alexei's kind of an item. So they meet the mom, and the mom has like training pigs to ensure that the mind control thing is good and seeing if she can do more of it. And like when they're all sitting on the dining table and talking, Natasha is very dismissive because she's like, that was a fake family, didn't like it. Meanwhile, Alexei in the side is trying his old Red Guardian costume, so on point about what I thought about him the first time. He's still stuck in those days where he's supposed to be really great. And the mom's like trying to convince them that even I like thought something, whatever. But then you're like, Mom, you seem off. She gets the pig inside to showcase how mind control works, and she makes the pig stop breathing for a while, and they're just like, what the fuck? And like just like few seconds before the pig was about to die, she's like, oh, you can breathe now, and then the pig leaves. And I was like, this lady's the villain. She wasn't, but I'll get to that later in the third section. Yelena gets really mad because all of them are like doing all sorts of stuff, and she screams, dude, why are you doing this? I thought this family was real, like, but then the best part of my life is fake. Because those were the only good memories that she has. And she's so right about it, and it hits you. It's so sad. Alexei goes to try and help her out a bit, so you see some form of redemption. He's really horrid at it, but brownie points, you know? And Nat and the mom are talking, and she's talking about how like during Christmas there were Christmas gifts and stuff like that. And even though Nat knew all the boxes were empty, it was just so that they could take pictures and show other people so that they could blend in. She would love opening them because it was a safe haven for her. She was trained to be a Black Widow before she came to America itself, so she knew everything that was happening. And she talks about that, and the mom feels really guilty and says, I told the Red Room to come pick you guys up. Boom! I knew the cure. I just knew it. Now see, the next part is confusing if I explain in chronological order, but I'm gonna try. What happens is that Nat and the mom, they switcheroo with some sort of face mask technology, which is like, ew, Marvel, do something better. And Yelena and Red Guardian Alexei, like they fight off people, but they end up getting like tranquilized. Where Dracov's staying is in the sky. That's why a lot of people couldn't find him and thought that he died with the Red Room. So Dracov's in the sky, and people want to do testing on Yelena to find out how she got free. So Alexei, and who's supposed to be Nat, gets stuck in prisons, but it's actually the mom. Alexei is just apologizing, and then the mom is just like, bruh, is me. Meanwhile, Nat, who's looking like the mom, meets General Dracov. So you're seeing the villain for the first time. It's supposed to be a big thing. Really isn't. He's just some old dingy guy. I know, like, he controls a lot of women and he holds a lot of power and he's doing a lot of bad things, but didn't really give me an evil vibe. Gave me a fake evil vibe, if you know what I mean. I don't think I know what I mean, but so she meets him, and again, I'm not explaining it in chronological order because you're gonna be confused. Basically, he has pheromone blockers around him, so if anyone smells him, like any black widow that smells him can't hurt him. And Nat knew that because mom told her before they did the switcheroo thing, so she breaks her nose on the table and then hurts him. But before that, she tries to aggravate him. She acts as if she doesn't know. She tries to aggravate him to find out the real source of the power. And he says that he has like 51 widows around the globe, and then there are a few in training here. And he controls a lot of different politicians and mean people and stuff like that. So he's supposed to be a big baddie. He calls all the Black Widows to attack Natasha, and at that point, the mom's supposed to get the entire thing where Dracov stays to get that down, and she isn't able to because Dracov locks her in, so she goes and crashes one engine. Now, Alexei's redemption sort of his arc is supposed to be fighting that robot thing that kind of mimics their moves. But we find out that the robot thing is actually the daughter that was supposed to be dead, and General Dracov actually inserted a chip in her to kind of create another Black Widow. Where you're just like, yeah, General Dracov, you suck. I mean, we've been new, but you suck more now. Nat is faced with her and is supposed to kind of like be faced with technically the only morally wrong killing that she did with a clear conscience. But it's not much of a payoff because it's not that big of a deal. Again, I'll discuss it later, whatever. Nat faces with her, whatever, but then Alexei is the one who's fighting, and then all the widows come to fight Nat, and they're fighting at that point, and see, Nat might have died there, but didn't, obviously. Yelena comes and then she bursts the gas in that area, except for one, so that the mom can create it later and they can save the rest of them. But yeah, and then Nat copies everything into a drive. Meanwhile, all the widows are leaving from there because they're like, oh, we're free, what do we do? We like live your life. So they go live their life, I guess. So they're leaving, and Yelena sees that Dracov is leaving in a helicopter, and then she goes and she breaks that helicopter with that flying down with the debris. And you're like, how is the debris not hitting her? But then she's a main character, so debris is not hitting her. And then you think it's gonna be a sad moment, Yelena dies. But Nat jumps with the hard disk in the parachute and clings onto her and then goes down. And you're like, okay, I guess that's that. While they're coming down, she's like, Nat says that the family was real for me too. It's supposed to be a hard-hitting moment, but then the guy in the beginning who was trying to catch Nat seems to be showing up. So she tells everyone, including the Black Widows, her mom, her dad, and Yelena, to leave, that she'll be fine. And everyone does leave, and you're just like, what the fuck, bro? But you kind of left back at where you started, where people are chasing Nat. And yeah, like 2 weeks later, she does get like a jet from the guy and calls him her good friend, which is nice for the guy, I guess, because he's really wanted to hear that for a very long time. But except for that, whatever. In the end credits, you see Elena like cleaning up Nat's grave and crying, and you think it's sad. And then someone shows up who apparently has hired Elena to be an assassin legally and asks her to kill Hawkeye, the reason why Black Widow is dead. So now, my feelings about it. I'm gonna start with the positives. I loved the family dynamic.
Here's what's gonna happen.
Natasha, don't slouch.
I'm not slouching.
You're going to get a back hunch.
Listen to your mother.
Oh my god, this.
Up.
All right, enough. All of you.
I didn't say anything.
I don't know. I think I'm a sucker for family dynamics. It's really cool, like, because you've seen so much of just romantic dynamics that now you're just like, you know. But with family, there's so much more going on, especially when they're not a real family. But for all of them, in some way, it was real. Like when Alexei goes to comfort Yelena, you know that he feels like he's their father figure in some way. And when he also tells that he's proud of the girls for being great assassins, he considers himself a father figure for them.
My girls are the toughest girls in the world.
Yelena very clearly thinks that that was very real for her. You see Nat also trying to fight for it, and she loves Yelena a lot. You can clearly see that she would do anything to protect Yelena, and she has a weird equation with the dad, but with the mom, she seems like she has more connection, because the mom does ask her, "How did you not lose her heart?" And she's like, "You told me not to," or whatever. And they do all the planning together, so they do have a connection, but it's still strained, right? Just and Alexei and the mom are flirting throughout, and it seems very like an actual family. For the kids it was, but for the parents I guess also it was. It was very interesting to watch, especially when Yelena makes fun of Nat for like having weird like hero poses when she lands, and then there's this moment where Yelena lands in a hero pose and she's like, "Ugh, that sucked." I love that moment. It was just one of my favorite moments of the movie. And Yelena itself, she is so great. She is so freaking great. She's just all around. I love her. I want to protect her, even though she's an assassin and I'm useless. I really liked her. I really liked that she was honest and just upfront and amazing, and just feelings, inexplainable feelings. I also like that they tried to like indulge into a lot of themes, the family dynamics being one of them, but then being stuck in a time that's passed by, that's not real. I feel like a lot of us have that. If we've had some time that was like really great in our lives and if we're struggling right now, we want to hold on to that. We want that to be our reality more than anything else. Like for Alexei, that was really interesting. The dealing with the much more morally gray stuff of all of them being assassins, but also trying to stop the bigger assassin. Then just the idea of literal brain control, and also using women as a resource. Literally, General Dreykov says, "I'm using the most free and available resource I have, women." And I'm like, I think those themes were very interesting. Here's my problem with it though. There was no payoff on any of them. Like the dad, what is his redemption? Fighting the robot daughter? Just didn't feel enough. The only moment where I felt like he had some growth was when he was trying to talk to Yelena. And it feels very half-assed. Like, I don't understand why Alexei didn't want to, like, take on General Dreykov, or like that might have created problems in their plan, because General Dreykov was the one who took away all of his glory days from him, and that would have made a lot of sense. That could have created a lot of tension as well. The switcheroo things and all were also really weird, but the mom, the gray stuff, a lot of that. Like, first of all, General Dreykov as a villain blatantly sucked. I would have loved to have like a 180 where you're thinking General Dreykov is supposed to be the villain, but it's actually the mom. Like, she created all of these mind controls, but she helped them. So that's supposed to be her redemption arc. But that's too soon. They gave all of these years, so many women, so many people, so many tragedies. She's a huge part of it. Like, she's the root that's keeping it together. And I didn't understand how they could forgive her so easy. They could have been like, thanks for having, but like, adios. But also, the mom, the mom was the real villain controlling Dreykov, that would have been so interesting to see pan out, because the mom, while feeling like that was an actual family, feels like this is more important. A sort of emotional tension created, and that creates more tension with the family dynamics that's there, because clearly Nat has a connection with her mom. She feels like the only reason she could keep her soul was because of the dialogue that the mom said, don't let them take your heart. But like, you don't see Dreykov throughout. He's this mystical figure and all of that, and you just see this old grungy man. Yeah, he sucks. Like I've told before, him turning his daughter into a robot shows how much he lacks emotionally. That for him, people are just to be controlled, and shows how much power means to him and how nothing else has any value in his life. And this is against her will. It's just, yeah, I'm saying that he's horrid, but if you did a 180 and you had the mom as the villain, it could have been so much more interesting. So much more interesting. I loved it when the mom was like, I call the Red Room, and the point where she's driving them. Later on, I found out that it was Nat, but like, still, like, it would have been so great that they would have had to like fight her emotionally as well as physically in order to overcome and actually destroy the Red Room. It would have been really nice, is what I'm saying. And the moral grayness to her character was just not enough. And again, like, when Nat faced the robot daughter, I really need to know her name someday. She cried a bit, but that was it. Her facing the wrongdoings that she's done didn't really happen. What I'm saying is that I think Marvel wanted to make it in such a way that you have a morally grey heroine, kind of like Scarlet Witch in Wanda. So there's a lot going on where you don't know whether you actually support her decision or not. But that didn't really happen. They very clearly made it black and white by the end, and it was just really unrewarding to do that. Now, the mind control and women as resources thing also at the same time, it could have been done so well. The impacts of it, like, there was so much potential in it. Because literally mind control and forcing women into becoming spies is a huge issue, but also kind of a shadow of that theme in real life, how there's so much controlling of women, of what they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do, what seems right for them, what seems not right for them. The power that this patriarchal society has created, the institutionalized oppression of women, could have been a very good theme to delve into. I know, like, you must be like, what are you expecting from a superhero movie? But literally, this movie is about controlling women into becoming spies. Whatever. I think that there was so much potential in that theme, which was just very, very. I guess that's what I'm saying about everything. There was potential, and halfway through, they were like, like the robot. The robot's supposed to mimic other people's fighting patterns and stuff like that, but that didn't really come into play a lot. Like, not a lot where like it was consequential, you know. So, and it also had like the typical Marvel third act problems where it's just a lot of bullshit and like just a lot of people, meaningless fights happening that could have been resolved with wit and made it much more interesting. Along with all of this, I think the timing of Black Widow is obviously very, very off. It was, if it was released exactly after Civil War, holy shit, that would have been great. Because when all the widows were fighting Nat, you could have easily thought that, oh shit, Nat's about to die. All of them have her capabilities. But you know Nat doesn't die. And it's just, and again, with Yelena, while I love her, I feel like they're trying to just find a replacement for Nat, and that's why Yelena was such a focus. But at the same time, yeah, that leads me to the next point. It felt like it was a movie about Yelena, not about Nat. It really, because the strongest character arc is for Yelena. She's broken out of mind control and she's destroying the Red Room. Imagine if they did that for Nat instead of doing it for Yelena and then Nat helping her through it and navigating through it. Showing us the time where Nat got out of mind control, how she approached the American government, how even did the American government get to trust her, how her and Hawkeye actually brought down the Red Room. I think that would have been a Black Widow movie. This was a Yelena movie. I mean, she's also a Black Widow. So I guess it was a Black Widow movie, but not the Black Widow that we thought we were getting to watch, you know? Like, I think I would have found it really interesting if they would have done that. The first few minutes where the family was undercover and they were like leaving, it was very intense, it was a bit dark. I think if they would have kept that entire tone throughout the movie and having Nat kind of, you know, break up the Red Room and stuff like that, and then not realize that it's actually free, that could have been the end credits. And Marvel could have actually capitalized more out of it, making a sequel, and this could have been the sequel. Wow. Look at me. I'm doing great here. It was really weird, and like the movie coming back to where it actually started from. In the beginning they're chasing Black Widow, and then by the end again they're just chasing Black Widow, but then she runs off on a jet. It seemed like the entire thing, if it didn't happen, it could have easily been a Black Widow dream. So yeah. Also, end credits asking Yelena to hunt down Hawkeye because he's the reason why your sister's dead. Dude, both of you are assassins. I know Hawkeye deserved to die, but like, yeah, fuck that shit. I'm done. Anyway, like, subscribe, do all of the things you're supposed to. Please comment what you thought. If you have any opinions agreeing with me, not agreeing with me, let me know if you watched it. And yeah, share it with people, please.